Hey, how's everyone doing today? I'm Vignesh Jayachandra, the team leader for Group 5. And today we're going to talk about three different case studies. The first one is introduction given by my friend Navdeep Kaur. She's going to be talking about Shalon, who encounters a lot of problems when he goes to a new country. And followed by Vikas, who's going to be talking about the Michelin, about the problems faced by the Michelin tire company. And then it's finally me, I'm going to be speaking about the differences in culture, geography in France and the United States of America. Enjoy!
Hello, my name is Navdeep Kaur and I am going to present the next part in the case study. When in 2004 Shalon was assigned with American business, the company faced a huge loss. As before, the company's turnover was over 5 billion in the European market in a year. It reduced to only $2 billion in the year. The new strategies and tactics the Shalon used were not as successful as before, as there was a difference between American and European market. As a result, for the new tactics and strategies, there was a huge decline in the sales, and the financial performance of the company was also reduced. It is said that it is because of the huge cultural difference between American and European markets. Shalon was fully aware that he had to strengthen the sales and sales teams, as it is really important for these two things to work for a successful business. He also had to take care of their current clients, who were also the biggest dealers in North America, as his goal was to not lose them. The current clients were thinking Michelin as a threat rather than some company with whom they can do business. They thought Michelin as competitors, not as business partners. After all this, Michelin also had to recover all the loss they faced in the market so they can thrive in the North American markets again. It is expected that Oliver Sharon would provide them with the financial game plan that would help them in generating wealth in the long run. It is expected that he would set more realistic financial goals for the firms, eliminate unnecessary financial risk, and set financial goals that align with the visions and missions of the firm. The problem with Sheldon was that he did not understand that there is a difference between European and American working cultures, and didn't change his managing methods to fit in the US. The Americans are always looking to some positive feedback for the work they did, but in case of Sheldon, many employees complained that the Sheldon was arrogant and blunt with his reply. He always wanted his employees to do more and their best without giving them any kind of positive and appreciative response. Shallon also had bad communication skills, as he always said his part of ideas and expected everyone to follow without any second thought. He was also a very tough and demanding manager. He expected results from the teams he handled and demanded accountability from his employees. He was never unfair to anyone and believed in giving feedback in an honest and direct manner. The next we are going to discuss the causes. The main cause of the problem was cultural difference between the countries in France and the America. There is a power distance between the leader and their subordinate. As in France, the power distance between the leaders usually appear bossy and not willing to lower themselves to the standards of the employees. In most cases, they are authoritative and appear arrogant. While in US, the culture is different. Americans are used to since most leaders in US wants to resonate with their subordinates, listen to them and have a procedural way of asking for clarity. Also in America, there is a thing that people can share their personal lives with their employees, but in France there's no such thing, as Sharon is also appeared as cold and distant personality. Also in America, people are used to ask questions without any interruptions and they can freely talk with their boss, while Sharon did not believe in such kind of things. So all employees think of him as an arrogant person.
Hi everyone, this is Vikas. I'm going to talk about the Michelin Group. You might have known this company as a tire manufacturing company, but it's much more than that. The Michelin Group is founded in the 1800s in Clermont-Ferrand, France. Michelin Group was one of the leading tire manufacturers in the world with 19.2% of market share for tires in 2004 and was a global powerhouse with sales in 170 countries. Michelin Group was famous for their road atlases, restaurants, and hotel guides, and its iconic mascot, the Michelin Man. The company's reputation was built on technical innovation and a focus on long-term growth. It had employed over 120,000 people, including 20,000 in North America. In the industry, it had a long-held reputation for excellence and for nurturing the careers of its employees. The company was organized along 8 major product lines, including the car and light truck product line, and the specialties product line, which comprises of aircraft, earth mover, agriculture, two-wheel, and component product lines. Michelin reached 15.69 billion euros in sales in 2004, with North American operations accounting for 33% of 2003 sales. The company's shares has traded on the Paris Stock Exchange since 1946, and its market capitalization as of 31st December 2002 was 5.22 billion euros. Olivier Chelon was an outstanding business professional from France who had started his career in sales in an integrated oil company in France and then later worked as a business analyst in London. Throughout his career, he was known for his ability to motivate and inspire teams to accomplish great things and achieve outstanding results. In his previous position, he successfully motivated a workforce of over 1,500 European employees to restructure a $12 billion business, which led to profit increase of over 50% on a quarterly basis. He had a lot of cultural experience. He had several top management positions in different businesses in 6 different countries. He was fluent in 4 languages and enjoyed working with colleagues from different countries. He was offered a position at Michelin Group. Based on his 6 years of work experience in UK, he was pretty confident of handling this position. Offered to handle its North American business unit, which was experiencing a decrease in sales and poor financial profit. As he was looking for a new challenge and opportunity, he found this offer interesting. These were the expectations on Chillon. The North American business unit that Chillon was handling was very important to Michelin as it accounted for 33% of overall sales revenue of the organization, generating close to 2 billion annually. A comprehensive assessment of the business unit by Boston Consulting Group has recommended Michelin to alter its strategy as it was putting the company in direct competition with its long-time customers. He was aware of the challenges that his division was facing and had planned to regain lost market share and implement a turnaround by motivating and reconstructing the sales team. He was also planning to allay the fears of existing clients who were starting to consider Michelin as a competitor and threat rather than supplier. However, few months down the line, Chalon was facing an existential crisis. Many of his colleagues and subordinates had bitterly complained about his management style to Jeff Armstrong, the head of human resources at Michelin. Many of the employees had complained about his leadership style and the way he interacted with employees and had concerns that he lacked ability to motivate teams and appeared cold and distant. He was very result-driven and disciplined professional and deemed anything which he felt did not meet the criteria as unacceptable, sending the work back to the team for rework and asking them to present more structured, detailed presentations next time. While he was quick to disapprove any work that he felt was substandard, he gave blunt direct criticism to the teams for such work. He was unable to showcase his pleasure and appreciation when any good work was done by his team, as he felt this would make them complacent. Chalon used to make an effort to go around and talk to his colleagues and followed an open door policy to make himself more accessible. And hence, he was surprised when people complained that he was distant. While Chalon was putting in a lot of effort to get to know the people and the company culture more, he was insensitive to differences in culture between the American society and the French society. He was not comfortable sharing information from his personal life with others, and was at time taken aback by the intrusiveness of American culture. Many of the signals that he had been sending to his colleagues and subordinates ended up having the reverse effect. He was using the same tactics that he had used previously in Europe and was not able to realize that due to geographical differences and societal and cultural norms, his actions were having a detrimental effect. He knew he had to make tough decisions, and turning around the division was going to be a difficult task, and that there will be resistance and discontent in the establishment due to the changes that he will initiate. However, he was not able to understand that these complaints were not related to the steps he took, but were about his way of doing things and his behavior. Now I hand over my presentation to Vignesh.
How's it going? I'm Vignesh, and I'm going to be taking over from my friend Akash here. So today I'll be discussing about the business differences, France versus USA. So just a little overview of the topics that I'm going to be discussing today. So I'm going to be demonstrating the Hofstede insight and talk about the temperament scale, and also I'll be touching upon the geography and the history of the country and how it influences the business decision made by USA and France. As you can see, I've just made a temperament scale of France versus the United States. So I'd like to talk about the power distance first. So with a score of 68, France scores fairly high on the power distance scale because children are raised to be emotionally dependent to a degree on their parents. This dependency will be transferred to teachers and later on to superiors. But in the USA, it's more about me, and me only. So there's not so much of a transition of a power, but just a manifestation of power that does not change over time. And also, I can touch upon the individualism. So 71, why does France have a lesser individualism? 91 for the United States. Oh, and just keep in mind that 91 is a pretty high number. And I believe the United States has one of the more higher scores of individualism. So the French combination of high score on power distance and a high score on individualism is rather unique. And this is one of the reasons why French are less obese than people in other European countries. Is that the parents will have way more authority over children. So they decide what the children should eat. So that's like one of the reasons why the obesity is not so much in France. And also at the same time, the family has more an emotional glue than other individualistic countries. So there's more of an attachment with the family. So that contributes to the individualism scale. So it's not about me, it's about us as a group. Okay, and the score of 43 for masculinity, it's almost that I want to call it femininity, like a feminine culture. So France has somewhat of a feminine culture at face value. And this can be indicated due to the famous welfare system. I think it's pronounced Sécurité sociale. It's that 35-hour working week, 5 days of holidays per year, and it's more focused on the quality of life than masculinity, which defines for achievements and you being at the top depending on the stuff that you have achieved. In France, it's much more slow and relaxed. Okay. Okay, so temperance model. I find this model to be very interesting. It's because it relates to how far people get involved and how deep they get into subjects. So people keep work and personal life separate for the specific dimension. So as a result, they believe that relationships don't have much of an impact on work objectives. And although good relationships are important, they believe that people can work together without having a good relationship. I kind of find it contradictory because you spend most of your time in an office environment, and if you don't get along with the very people you work with, then there's no point in having a good quality of life because you spend more than 50% of your time in office. Okay, so the next one is diffuse. And diffusal, people see an overlap between the work and personal life. So they don't try to separate them like the specific dimension. They believe that good relationships are vital to meeting business objectives and that relationships with each others will be the same whether they are at work or meeting socially. So you're pretty much the same person. It's not like you put on a role when you're in the office to pretend to be all professional and stuff like that, and then be a completely different person outside of work. So in diffusal, you're just the same person throughout. You need to alter your ego. So even if it is going for a couple of drinks outside with your friends, you share the same kind of bond and emotion. I feel like personally I work better in these kind of situations because I don't like to fake my fake my persona just to sit through an 8-hour shift. So people spend time outside work. People spend time outside work hours with colleagues and clients. So it's not just staying in one office environment. It's that they go out and they try to further enhance their bond, which is pretty good. Second main point about the temperance model is neutral versus emotional. So in neutral, people make a great effort to control the emotions. Reason influences their actions far more than their feelings. And people don't often reveal what they're thinking or how they're feeling. This is great because it gives them a kind of emotional intelligence, and it makes them act in a much more planned and in an orderly fashion instead of just having your emotions go abyss and creating a whole lot of confusion. So on the other end of the spectrum, the emotional side, that's when people find ways to express their emotions. So they find that they don't have the need to hide their emotions. They can go ahead and express the emotion even spontaneously. So in these work cultures, it's welcome and accepted to show emotions. So let me give you an example. So in the Canadian and American culture, for that matter, I feel like neutral emotions are much more appreciated because people just they don't care about forming a lot of bonds. It's very quick. It's just getting stuff done one by one, and they have no time for emotions because they think that your emotions should be preserved for after work hours when you're at home with your family. But countries like France and India and other Middle Eastern countries, I feel like touch upon the more emotional side, more human side, so that the business is not very robotic and artificial, but also there's a touch of humanity to it, and I like that. Okay, so my next topic is going to be about achievement versus ascription. So in achievement, people believe that you are what you do and base your worth accordingly. So this correlates with power distance. So the countries that do have an achievement as a main priority would also have a decrease in power distance. So it doesn't matter if you're at the top level or if you have a lot of power. People judge you based on the activities that you do and the performance that you're indulged in, as opposed to ascription, where people think they should be valued for your power, title, position, and there's a lot of it's an element of respect to it. I feel like so in countries like India, because I am from India, you respect people based on power, title, and position, despite how they got there. Even if they were born into wealth, you still respect them, irrespective of their achievements. So that's pretty interesting to me. Geography. This is one of my favorite topics of all times because I just find it so interesting and to find out the differences between the geographical locations and how they're influenced by other countries that are near or farther than them. So I'm going to be talking about the geographical differences between France and the USA. So France might appear to be a big country, taking up a large chunk of Europe, but France is technically slightly smaller than Texas, which is right here. And Texas is not even the biggest state in the United States. It's Alaska, which is all the way next to Canada. And my topic would be how the geography of both these countries influence the work culture and work ethics. So, as you can see here, France is one of the countries in a cluster of countries. So, the culture and everything is based on the neighbors. So it's also interlinked with the neighbors. So things that are true in France, like maybe it'd be the laid back work environment or importance of culture, history. And you can see the same importance in countries like Belgium, Netherlands, the UK, or Spain even. But United States is this one massive big country, and I feel like it dictates its own rules and it doesn't listen or be intertwined with Mexico or Canada. They have their own thing going on. So United States is a dictator. It's kind of a dictator because it dictates its own rules and how things are done. So this way, it's not dependent on any other countries. So it's more of an individualistic society. And that's the difference. And as you can see, there's a lot of land or lack of land. There's a lot of water between the two countries. It might not be as far as, for example, USA and India, which is over here. But it still has a lot of distance between it.